Hello and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for tuning in today with us. Today, we are back with another special episode of our Alumni Virtual Engagement Series. This is a monthly video series where we sit down and talk with a Manor College alumni to hear about their experiences as a Manor student and what life has been like since graduating. My name is Kelly Pfeiffer. I am the Vice President of Marketing, Communications, and Advancement here at Manor College. And today, I am really honored to be talking with a Manor College alum who has graduated not once, but actually twice from Manor College, once in 2019 with his associate's degree, and then again in 2021 with his bachelor's degree in educational leadership and administration, becoming the first male in his family to receive a college degree. After Manor, Chris Brooks went on to earn a master's in education from Eastern University, and currently he is pursuing an MBA from Carlow University. Today, Chris is a fourth grade early language arts teacher at KIPP North, and we're going to hear from Chris. So welcome, Chris. Thank you for joining us today.
It's a pleasure for having me. Thanks, Kels.
You're welcome. So start us off with, how did you hear about Manor College, and how did you choose Manor when you were looking for where to start your higher education?
Um, the funny part about this whole story is that I didn't want to go to a school inside of the city, and I wanted to find a school that aligned with um, my ACT scores and along with working with me through this whole college experience because I wanted to go to school, but I necessarily didn't have the proper direction in order to do so.
Mm-hmm.
So I did a lot of like research for schools because I didn't want to attend community, so I came across Manor. And the funny part about it is that when I first applied, it took me months to hear back from somebody at Manor, as
Mm,
far as my acceptance and everything. And so when I reached out, I kept reaching out and I kept getting the same thing. Something will be out or whatever the case may be like that there. Sometimes I wouldn't get an answer at all. And then I did receive something and I received something and it was a rejection on. And I was like, why am I being rejected? And I meet all the qualifications. My ducks are all lined up in a row. So I'm
right.
not kind of confused. So I called and I spoke to someone, I think in the registrar's office, and they was like, oh no,
Mm-hmm.
that was a mistake. We accepted you, da 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 da. And so I was like, oh, okay, well, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
And that's how my journey started. And it was a little rocky,
Yeah.
but I'm grateful for it. I'm definitely grateful for it.
Oh man,
Um,
yeah, that sounds like not the beginning that you want.
no, no,
Um, I apologize for that, and I'm
no,
sorry
you're
that's
fine.
kind of how the journey started, but I'm
Yeah.
glad that it did have a silver lining and that you ended up obviously where you did. So tell us how did you know that you wanted to study education and particularly early childhood, and kind of how has that been made apparent to you over the course of your life? Like that's your passion and that's kind of your calling.
Well, it all started back in the fifth grade. We were to write about something that we wanted to do as far as career wise. And we had a male teacher at our school, and he taught kindergarten. And he was the only male teacher that taught kindergarten at the school. So
Mm-hmm.
that really made me interested. And he was there for years. Everyone
Mm-hmm.
knew him. Everyone knew him. And so I did my observation on his class. I'm sorry about that. I did
It's
my
fine.
observation on his class,
Mm-hmm.
not knowing that later on it would have some impact on me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, a few years later, I used to assist my sister in babysitting her children,
Mm-hmm.
and I was help them with their homework and get them from school. And I necessarily didn't have a direction on what I wanted to do or where I wanted to go or what I wanted to do professionally. At that time, I was just working a lot of odd jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so at the end of me working with my sister and her going to, like having different jobs and trying to figure out what she was going to do and me watching the children, I felt as though, well, that's what I should be doing. I should be working with kids. So
Mm-hmm.
my initial thought was to open up my own daycare service because that's what I
Mm.
wanted to do. I wanted to open up my own daycare. That's why I wanted the whole degree and everything else like that there. Um, and that necessarily didn't happen. I ended up in the position that I am today.
Yeah.
So that's how that really started. With the whole idea of me just watching my nieces and nephews, assisting them.
Mm-hmm.
And me being inspired by the male teacher that we did have in the
Mm-hmm.
kindergarten class that we had over at my grade school.
Mm-hmm.
And those were my biggest influences, assisting with my nieces and nephews and the male
Yeah.
figure teaching. I thought that was just fantastic.
Yeah, that's cool. And I think especially a male teacher who's teaching kindergarten. I mean, it's pretty rare to have male teachers in elementary, especially
Yeah,
those like lower grades.
yeah,
Um, yeah, and obviously helping out your nieces and nephews and kind of being a part of their life and seeing like, oh, I'm just not like an uncle. I really am kind of good at this and really enjoy it.
yeah,
That's great. That's great reassurance that that's really where you should be in your career. And I think the good thing about the degrees that you got at Manor, at least, is that yeah, you didn't open a daycare center, but you still, you're still able to draw upon those degrees in your work. So I think that's a nice thing. It's not like that strict. So
yes.
tell me about your Manor experience. How you did you're someone who has 2 degrees with us, an associate's and a bachelor's. That's pretty rare. So how was your experience like? What did you think of your classes? What were you involved with?
Well, the first person that I met on campus was Dr. Sheree Crosby
Mm-hmm.
and Dr. Mike Landis.
Uh-huh.
Um, and their whole aura and their welcoming personality assisted me in making that transition to the school, coming to classes,
Mm.
engaging with them, and being confident in my learning experience.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my time at Manor, some classes was challenging. Some classes were fun to be in, and some classes I learned a lot in. One of my favorite courses that I did take was philosophy with Dr. Ann Cope,
Mm-hmm.
where I was taught about the allegory in the cave, which still with me to this day.
Yep.
uh, some of the most active classes that I did have was with Dr. Shuri Crosby,
Mm-hmm.
who taught majority of my classes in early childhood education and was one of the pillars of me pushing me to achieve that milestone and get those degrees. So if it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't for her, I don't know where I possibly would be. She was a big push. She assisted me greatly in my
Mm-hmm.
experience, and she wanted this sometimes more from me than I wanted it for myself. But
Mm.
I ultimately had to believe in myself in order to get there. But she was definitely a big push, and I really appreciate her for that.
Yeah.
And also taking a few other classes, especially with my last course was Dr. Mike Landis,
Mm.
and doing the creative writing piece, um, emphasizing and focusing on that. I didn't really emphasize on writing. And
Mm-hmm.
he expressed interest that he was interested in the stories that I was writing. And
Mm.
sometimes Professor Landis would get upset because I would be late on writing my segment of the story, and he'd be like, "Chris, I'm waiting on you to write your part so I can read it. I'm really into this." So I found out that I had a hidden talent of writing.
Nice.
My experiences was there. It challenged me greatly. It displayed to me that I could do things that I didn't really think that I could do.
Mm-hmm.
And it put me in a position to say that I belong somewhere.
Mm.
And it's crazy because that's what the motto is, that you belong here, and that's how
Mm-hmm.
they make you feel. And the small campus, even down to Dr. Kim Farmer,
Mm-hmm.
who assisted me as well, but was also on my top two about me finishing and doing the coursework. But she worked with me greatly.
Yeah.
Um, each of those professors and the ones that I haven't mentioned played a great deal in my experiences. And also Miss Ann at the front office, her
Mm-hmm.
welcoming spirit, yeah, it's just everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
So just coming into that, those
Yeah.
those people who have longevity on campus, that's been there for some time, that
Mm-hmm.
assist people coming in and going out,
Mm-hmm.
those are great things. And I am so elated to say that I was one of the first African American males to finish in the education department with a
Yep.
bachelor's degree, solely individually by myself, in that category of early childhood
Yeah.
education administration. So, and I don't really bask on that, but that's something that's a great milestone. So that's
Yeah.
my experience that I did have at Manor, and I'm grateful for it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it sounds very rich and full. And I remember you as a student. I remember your graduation specifically, and how there was so much excitement around from your family, but also from a lot of people who work at the college and staff and faculty. So proud of you, being the first, in so many different ways. So I think that's really special. And you're right. I mean, our tagline is "You belong here," and it's we like to say it's not really just a tagline. It's definitely our motto. We try to live that way and make our students
Yes.
and everyone who comes on campus feel like they belong here. So
Okay.
so it's always reassuring when we hear that from alumni who say like, yeah, I felt like I belonged. Um, that's really great. So how did you transition from, your Manor grad now, and okay, what do I do next? And how did you kind of, because I feel like this is where a lot of our students and young alumni and maybe a new grad, it's a hard thing to figure out, like, okay, how do I go from college student to now get a real job or a career job? And kind of how did you make that transition, and what was that like for you?
The funny part about it is, Kelly, is that I really didn't necessarily know what I wanted to do. But I knew that I wanted something. And that's the whole idea of it, because you're like, okay, well, I've been doing this for 4 years or two
Yeah.
years or however long you've been doing it, and you're trying to figure out your next move. You always have to plan ahead. Even
Hmm.
if you're not for sure on what you want to do, you have to have some type of plan in order for you to execute it.
Yep.
So ultimately, it wasn't hard for me to make the transition because I knew I wanted a master's degree. I
Hmm.
knew what I wanted to obtain. And this time I knew how to go about it.
Right.
Beforehand, I didn't know how to take my SATs or how to go about doing different things. So a lot of things was just on me. But ultimately, I knew how to go about things, how to look for the schools I wanted to go to. I was familiar with Eastern because we had a partnership with Eastern at one time,
Hmm.
offering undergraduate degrees. So I
Yep.
was very familiar with their curriculum and everything else like that there. And they made the transition from Manor to Eastern very smooth. Um,
Good.
so I was happy for that. Now, as far as my career goes, the funny part about it is I never seen myself being a teacher.
Hmm.
Actually, when I came out, I was still being a TSS worker. I was a
Hmm.
therapeutic support specialist, well, one-on-one. So I was emphasizing on that. I really didn't see myself being a teacher at all. So the notion came to me actually because Manor has this program with St. Joseph University, whereas though you can obtain your master's degree for free with emphasis on if you teach for a year at a Catholic school.
Hmm.
Now, the funny part about it is I applied for the program, but I didn't apply to be a teacher. I'd applied to be an administrator.
Hmm.
And everything was going great, and I didn't get in the program.
Hmm.
So I had to have a backup plan.
Yeah.
And initially, when I got into Eastern, I initially first got into their anthropology. Uh, what was it? Anthropology. It was their anthropology department. That's what
Hmm.
initially was going to be my master's degree. I was going
Okay.
to go for what was it? Cultural anthropology. That's what
Sure.
it was going to be.
Hmm.
And I got accepted into the program. And a
Yeah.
week before the program started, my mentee and a few of my friends and colleagues was like, "Well, what are you going to do with that?" And that really doesn't align with what your degree
Right.
is going to be. So you need to figure something else out. So a week before the classes started, I switched over to the education program and decided that I was going to go for an MED in reading.
Hmm.
When I went to check my transcripts, however, it says MED in multicultural education. Now, the funny part about it is that I originally wanted the anthropology degree. So I thought this,
Oh.
okay, well, this just aligns with what I wanted to do anyway. So I might as well just stay here. So that's more so what happened. And me
Okay.
being a teacher, at first, the funny part about it is that I didn't get into the program with
Hmm.
St. Joseph. But
Hmm.
however, my first teaching experience was at a Catholic school. I
Hmm.
taught fifth grade at Blessed Trinity Catholic School in the Northeast Philadelphia to a very diverse classroom.
Hmm.
And I loved my kids at that moment.
Hmm.
They were great kids. Um, that was my first teaching experience. And it's crazy because I didn't get into the program, but however, I still ended up teaching at a Catholic school.
Yeah. Yeah. Full circle, right?
Full circle, right?
Hmm.
It's just
Hmm.
crazy how God can make things come into full circle at times. But
Yeah.
that's necessarily what happened. And I had stopped teaching. I'd stopped teaching during the summer or before the summer for a little bit, and I was a site director for
Hmm.
core services, and
Hmm.
then I came over to KIP. to be a fourth
Nice.
grade teacher in October.
Nice. So tell us, you're in the trenches of elementary school education.
Yeah.
What is it like being an elementary school teacher? What are some of the what are you seeing? How has COVID affected the students? Kind of what's your perspective?
Um, what I'm saying is that a lot of children are eager to learn. However, some of their environments are not innate for them to really grasp everything that's going on.
Hmm.
I feel as though due to COVID, some of the children do not have the proper classroom management skills or know how to conduct themselves in an environment where there's other children in their
Yeah.
setting due to that time away from the classroom. However, I do feel as though some children are very eager to learn. They're very eager to gain and retain information, and they're very eager to go on to the next level.
Hmm.
However, they have some anger issues that they have to work out with amongst, I guess, themselves or each other,
Hmm.
and they have to figure out what they're angry about. Sometimes my children could just be sometimes angry for no reason, and I kind of puzzled
Yeah.
about it. So
Yeah.
working on the contentiousness between others and themselves can be a good thing.
Yeah.
Um, and there was one more question I feel as though I'm not answering.
No, I think you did a great job. So I have my final question for you is what advice would you give to current Manor students? We just got off of Thanksgiving break. They have like 3 more weeks in their semester. Everyone's kind of getting exhausted, final projects, finals. What advice would you give to our students to kind of encourage them?
Is that the road is going to get hard. You're going to get tried. People are going to pass away. People are not going to see you there at your graduation that seen you there at the beginning. The road is going to get rough. All classes are not the same. All professors are not the same. All the curriculum is not the same. And some people may want more from you than the rest. Just meet their expectations. And if you can't meet their expectations, then have them meet you where you are. But however, try to meet them in the middle. But don't give
Hmm.
up. If you're on this road and you're on this journey, keep going, keep trying, keep striving. You didn't start this just to stop and just to stop where you are. Like
Hmm.
it's something out there for you. It's more there for you. That's why you're in this position right now. Because there's more for you out there. And get that degree, obtain it, and go and get more education, obtain that
Hmm.
so that you can take care of yourself and you can take care of your family. It's not going to guarantee you the greatest job, but it's going to guarantee that you're able to sustain yourself. And those people who are there to support you, let them support you. Even if it's telling you something to fix your paper or telling you information to go in a different direction in order for you to help yourself in a different way. Do it. Like take any suggestion that somebody gives you because
Hmm.
those people care about you and they want to see the best for you. Especially the professors and the faculty at Manor. They definitely want to see you succeed. They do not want to see you fail. You have a lot of adjuncts and a lot of professors who do come and go that you might not be very familiar with, that who are not aligned with the vision that Manor has. However, those people who are there who sustain themselves, that have been there for longevity, listen to them. They have great advice, and they're not going to steer you in the on the wrong direction. They're actually going to give you great advice, and they're wishing for you and hoping for you to succeed. And trust me, they're going to do their best to make sure that you cross that finish line. So that's my advice to current and future men students.
That's great. That's great advice, and I think it's timeless. Regardless if you're a freshman or a senior, no matter where you are in your journey, don't give up, and believe that professors are believing the best in you. Like you said, they want you to
Mm-hmm.
succeed. Is sometimes students think like, oh, my professor, like they want to give me a bad grade. No, they don't. They actually want to. They're here because they want to help you. Just like you, as a
Yeah.
teacher, you want your fourth graders to succeed. Um,
Yes.
and they want to see you thrive, in all that you can be. So that's great advice. Thank you, Chris, so much. And we wish you
No
nothing but the
problem.
best. Thank you so much for joining us today and have a good rest of your day and a great holiday season.
You too, Kelly. Thank you for interviewing today.
Yeah, you're welcome. Take care.